So many people have shared their opinions to support the initiative. We are going to commence the main session of the forum shortly. Simultaneous interpretation is being provided. Please use the receiver on the desk and tune it to channel 1 for Korean and 2 for English. Then I'd like to introduce all the panels and the moderator of the main session shortly. Under the theme of plastics and biodiversity, the main session will take place. So I'd like to ask all the panelists and the moderator to come up to the stage and take your seat. To preserve and conserve biodiversity in Jeju, environment would be the most important. So regarding solutions, we are going to listen to their opinions and ideas from now on. So under the theme of plastics and biodiversity, we'd like to start the main session. Before we start, I'd like to introduce the moderator. The chairman of the steering committee of Jeju Plus International Environment Forum will moderate the session. And he is now senior advisor of Kim En-jang, and also he served as former environment vice minister. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a big hand. So I'd like to pass the microphone, please. Now floor is yours. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I'm Yoon Jong-soo, the moderator of the main session. Plastic has excellent physical characteristics and usability, which makes the material the masterpiece of human invention. But now it is threatening the ecosystem of the planet and our health. In that regard, at this session, under the theme of plastics and biodiversity, representatives from the central government, local government, and international organizations, and various actors are going to discuss how to reduce plastic pollution in depth. So before we start the discussion, I'd like to introduce the speakers here today. First, we have a very special guest today. Former Minister of Myung-ja Kim, and I served her at the ministry, and she served as environment minister for 3 years and 8 months as the longest women environment minister. And she served as a National Assembly member as well, and also she was president of the Korean Federation of Science and Technology Societies. Now she's working as president of the Seoul Forum for International Affairs. That is very prestigious forum. And also, President Kim majored chemistry in Seoul National University and served as professor in the same department for a long time, which makes her interested in plastic issues. So, thank you very much for your participation today, President Kim. And next, we have online participants as well. First is Lee Chang-hum from Minister of Environment, Director General. On behalf of Minister of Environment, he is connecting with us online. He was born in Jeju Island, so I guess it's very meaningful to him. Do you have him here? Okay. And next we have Moon Jung-ho, Head of Environment Conservation Bureau of Jeju Special Self-Governing Province. He's going to talk about best practices in Jeju. And indeed, Jeju made a very meaningful declaration. So to make a declaration realistic, I guess Mr. Ho has a lot to do. And we have General Manager of Resource Circulation Headquarters of K-Eco, Kim Un-suk, here today. And financially supported, this event is financially supported by K-Eco, and in particular, resource circulation and waste. In these areas, she's been in this area and she's been studying in these two areas. She is a genuine expert. And we have two online speakers connected. First is Assistant Director General Dr. Shamila Nair Bedrelle. And she made some points before. And she is joining us again for this main session.
아마 연결이 돼서 이따가
I guess we have her connected, so I guess once again she's going to make good points.
그리고 또 한 분은 아까
And the another line participant made greetings as well. She's from the IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature, Deputy Director General. She's Korean. We have Song Lee here today. Are you with us? Good to see you again. Good to see you again. Is it okay to speak in Korean, right? Okay. We are looking forward to hearing your opinions as well. So we have a total of 6 speakers for this main session. We are going to have an in-depth discussion. So I will ask just 2 questions. First question is about the roles of local governments, central governments, and international organizations regarding plastic pollution prevention. And the second question is about plastics and biodiversity and how to restore biodiversity. So regarding that, we'd like to ask your opinions. That's the second question. So for the first question, President Kim, as I mentioned before, is an expert. So she's going to talk about comprehensive opinions, and then we'd like to ask detailed questions to other speakers. So I guess her presentation slides are ready. So could you please show the slides on the screen?
So may I have the time so that I can check how much time has left? So I have 15 minutes. Okay, 15-minute presentation. Please show the time on the display. Actually, this is the summary of my presentation. And can you put the timer on the display? So thank you so much for your kind introduction. That was quite generous, moderator. So the Korean Federation of Science is the institution I worked for, and every end of the year, they announce the biggest news in the field of science. And in 2019, the biggest issue was fine dust in the first year, so battle against fine dust, air quality. And the second issue was the ambush of the plastics. So the Korean Federation selected those two as the biggest science news in the 2 consecutive years. So they had a meeting for 6 rounds of the forum regarding the plastic issues. And Chairman Lee Seung-hee and co-organizer Lee Chan-hee actually organized this kind of forum, and the outcome of the forum were formed in the form of the recommendation report. 300 or over participants joined the meeting. It was very hotly debated occasion. Plastic first emerged in 1862, so it began from the 19th century as a God-given product. So the plastic age started And the term first used in 1924 in a novel. And that was the second bestseller of the time. And also it was remade into the film. And the Age of Plastic was the song of the famous singer. And I believe that this picture is quoted a lot. In 1955, this was the cover page of Life magazine. And the problem of this cover page was that this single use is now a common norm of the modern society back in 1955. So, back in 1935, the Second World War occurred, and in 1945, the war ended, and the plastic production after the Second World War kind of increased fourfold during the war period. This means that the plastic consumption had been and is being used in the field of defense precision machine more than you can imagine. They are using enormous amount of plastics. And one interesting anecdote I need to share is that the nylon was used for parachute, and during the war, the woman in the U.S. decided not to use nylon stocking anymore to save the nation. They decided not to produce it anymore to produce more parachute, because in the past they lined up in a long queue to buy nylon stocking, and it was sold like a pancake. But during the war, they decided not to wear it for a patriotic reason. Instead, they decided to wear stripped stocking by drawing a line with a marker by themselves. It was quite funny. But this picture is something we need to pay attention to once again. And it is because the usage of the plastic is more extensive than we can imagine. It is used in everywhere as a core material, like the building construction, structure, material, industrial machine, transportation, power, fiber, textile. And if you see the bottom of the slide, the pink marked area, the biggest part is the area we need to pay attention to. This large portion are the plastic usage for packaging. This huge amount is used for the sake of packaging. And like I said, we need to use plastic in a smarter way. And that means that we shouldn't spend the plastic, single disposable, short lifespan plastic for packaging, because packaging is used for a short period of time, and they are drifted all the way down to oceans. So smarter plastic usage is critical, and that's the meaning of this picture, I believe. Also, another important thing we need to pay attention is that this is the total accumulation of the plastic production, and how we can zero the plastic production. If you see this trend, because problem here is how to increase, not how to decrease, if you see this trend. So we need to more focus on how to better manage or reduce the production. Also, additives are huge to add a color or to improve the properties of the product. We're using additives for multiple purposes. The problem is that they are very fluid. So there are so many categories of the additives. So the plastic plus additives are aggravating the environmental pollutions, I believe. This picture is quite famous and heart-striking picture. Whenever I see it, actually this was a documentary. The mother albatross feed it to her baby because she thought that this plastic is a feed. And also, picture on the bottom is the dead albatross, and in the stomach of the dead albatross, you can see the colorful plastics, and also Q-tips is held by the seahorse, as you can see in this picture. And if you see these pictures, the drifting of the plastic and the remaining plastic on the land region destroy the ecosystem in a very serious manner like this, and all those plastics are fragmented into microplastics. So that degradation ultimately, of course, we intentionally make microplastics, but 99% of the microplastics are generated due to such degradation of larger plastics. So like I said, we need to minimize the usage. This is a picture reported in CNN. Is this a timer? So I'll just go faster. So we kind of turn blind eyes to this problem. And the biggest gray spot was that this waste mountain deposited in the less developed countries. So the damage is enormous. Despite the Basel Agreement and Convention, we haven't complied to the fullest, I believe. And also, due to the COVID pandemic, we generated much more disposable plastic waste. Recently, UNEP announced a drowned-in plastic report. And this is quite a good report, I believe. And if you see the report, you can access to the precise latest information on plastic usage and consumption. This is a life cycle of plastics. It takes 500 years and 30 years for full degradation, as you can see, when it is underwater. So they stay under the water for quite a long, destroying the marine ecosystem. So the last victim would be human beings. We are the producers, and we will be the last victim as those plastics will coming back to us like a boomerang effect. So we are literally eating those plastics once again. So we are eating this plastic card size microplastic every week. So how much plastic card will we eat a year? And what will happen is circulate inside our body, causing multiple disease inside our body. So experts, he is from Cambridge University, Mr. Evans. Professor Evans said that I'm not saying that we should stop using plastics. We need to locate where those plastics are coming from and where they go. So smart use of plastics has been highlighted by him. Recycling is critical, but recycling is not the end of the story, because recycling cannot be done more than 3 times. And recycling is very difficult because a small amount of impurity can change the property of the product totally and the quality of the product. And even if we pay a lot of money to build the infrastructure for sorting, separation, and processing and management, those processes increase the price of the product, but still the quality is undermined. So who will buy that undermined quality product at higher price? So this is an economic barrier we haven't overcame. So this is a 7 recycling process of representative infrastructure. And actually this idea, this concept was born as early as 1930s. And in 1988, the separation category changed into 7, and that kind of recycling label was born. However, in reality, only PET bottle, familiar with, and also Digent bottles and polyethylene, HDPE, LDPE. Those 4 are the one that are well recycled, and the remaining are just mixed and ended up being landfilled. So if you see the recycling rate, it is very marginal, I believe. So the problem is how to increase the portion. So we need to pay more attention to the design of the plastic product, production, consumption, and post-consumption, sorting, separation, management. Whole life cycle of the plastic product should be monitored so that we can minimize the plastic waste as much as it can in terms of the textures, design, structure, properties, even from the production stage all the way down to the consumption stage, because consumer has the biggest power to push the changes ahead. So we need to clearly identify the problem as such. So to maximize the effect of the recycling, we need to work harder, but it has its limitation as well, because we need to develop new materials and solve the existing problems with the new materials. So that kind of scientific advancement should be there, but at the more fundamental level, human behaviors, mindset, practices must be changed as well, and that is my conclusion. Thank you so much.
예,
Thank you very much, Minister, for sharing your ideas and interesting photographs. Thank you for introduction. So you talked about a credit card. If you go to China, they usually do not accept credit card. They use mobile phones. And indeed, I have a few credit cards, but when it comes to that, I guess we are a bit lagging behind China. So today, we have so many guests as well as experts. And we have Jeju Islanders here today on site. So plastic issues are all of our issues. Maybe at the end of this forum and at the end of this session, I'd like to give the floor to all of you. So if you have any comments or questions, please do not hesitate and leave them. And let me introduce the next speaker. We have Director General Lee Chang-him of Ministry of Environment online. He's from the central government. And what kind of policies central government has? So I'd like to ask you to present for 3 minutes.
예. 이창욱장 들리십니까?
Hear my voice? I think I cannot hear your voice. I think you're muted.
지금 마이크가 꺼져 있거든요.
So I think you're muted. If you see your screen, you're muted. Please click on the first icon.
지금 마이크가 안 들리고 있습니다.
I cannot hear your voice. So if you see your screen, you can see the microphone icon. Please turn on it. Yes. We still cannot hear your voice. I think there is a technical issue, so I think you need to wait a little bit so that we can check the microphone. So I think we will go to the next speaker and come back to you.
계신 우리
Then, Head Homun-jung will make some points.
예,
It is my great pleasure to be part of this panel discussion. I am the Director of Environmental Preservation of the Jeju Province. Governor Oh and Mr. Kim, the chairperson of the Provincial Council, already shared many, and some of the things I would say would be kind of redundant. The theme of today's forum, plastic pollution and biodiversity conservation, is the reality and the challenge the Jeju Island is now facing, I believe. As you well may be aware, Jeju is recognized by UNESCO in terms of Biosphere Reserve, Natural World Heritage, Global Geopark. Besides, we have 5 Ramsar wetlands, so this is God-given nature, I believe. The island welcomes the travelers, and the number is 4 million in 2000 and 7.5 million in 2010 and over 15 million in 2016. This fast increase of the travelers undermined the public infrastructure, and it exceeded the capacity of the nature of the island. And because of such excessive traveling, waste, sewage, transportation issues emerged. As of 2020, per capita waste generation amount was 0.98 kilogram in Seoul, but it is 1.89 kilogram in Jeju. So the difference is 2, and the waste generated in this island is the highest in Korea. Also, the amount of the plastic generated on the island increased 4.4-fold over the last 10 years. The island decided to tackle the plastic issues in earnest, so up until 2030, we decided to reduce the plastic generation by 30% compared to the 2020 level. So to meet this target, we have implemented multiple projects. Last year, from July, we decided to replace the disposable plastic cups in coffee shops with mug-cup or multiple-use cups under the project of Eco Jeju project. So far, 26 coffee shops on this island saved the 2.7 million single disposable cups, and if you put the cups and stack up, the height is same to the height of the Hala mountain. So we will expand this program because we have so many coffee shops on the island. Like it was said by Miss Kim, from this year, island within the Jeju Island, Udo Island, will be the target. Coffee shops, restaurants will be also banned from using disposable plastic cups, and they will be all replaced with multiple-use cups. Multiple-use cups and cutleries must be more used, so we will build some kind of a vending machine where people can return the used cutlery or cups to the vending machine and wash them. And at the same time, it will be a chance for senior citizens to get new jobs, and by doing so, we'll be able to make plastic-free zone at the district level in the pilot phase, I believe. Besides, public institutions have been preparing some campaign to prevent the use of plastic in forums and events. And there were so many agricultural workers on the Jeju Island. They decided to use the biodegradable agriculture mulching vinyls, and also the fishers will use biodegradable fishing gears as well. Also, the governor, who was inaugurated on 1st of July, announced the zero waste project to build the resource circulation economy for eco-friendlier islands. So we are very much active in tackling waste issues. We will minimize the generation of waste, and for existing waste, we will use the recycling helping center or live resource recovery center to maximize the recycling rate. At the same time, the marine litters that degrade the quality of Jeju coastal areas will be fully collected by the provincial government, so that we can recover the energies from waste, so that we can make the island free of plastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Please give him a big hand. As you are well aware of, think globally, act locally have been pushed forward by the local government as a bottom-up process. So this is how local government should deal with the problem to solve this issue. So 2040 Plastic Zero campaign was declared by Jeju Island. So you need to keep up the good work in making models and transferring it to other countries as well. Then we'd like to invite Assistant Director General Shamila Nair-Bedrelle of UNESCO. So we'd like to ask her to share some opinions.
Thank you. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, and good morning, good evening to all of you. Bringing you greetings from UNESCO, your home in Paris. As you all are aware, UNESCO is really the home of education, science, culture, and communication. And Korea is a very important partner in UNESCO in delivering all of its mandates. Today, more than ever, we have seen that if we really want to go 2040 plastic free, then we really need to bring on board the education, the science, the culture, and the communication. All of these are essential, not only to living in harmony with nature, but living in harmony with one another, and also in protecting our global public goods, our common good for the future of humanity. And that common good is our planet. And we have seen over the years how plastics has destroyed lives of many people, plants, animals, and the planet. But we've also seen that plastic is also destroying our oceans from microplastic pollution. Plastics are also destroying our natural water resources. Plastics are destroying our biodiversity, which is the essential of humanity. So this initiative taken by the Republic of Korea and also the Jeju self-governing province government of Korea is really critical and sets a very high bar and standard for the rest of the world to follow. So my sincere congratulations to the Jeju self-governing province for this exceptional initiative, which we hope other countries in the world will be able to follow. Now, this is an example of how local governments think locally and are acting globally. Preventing plastics and banning plastics at local level will have a worldwide impact because we all live in a global interconnected world. And plastics between countries travel in oceans, in water, and within the biodiversity. And when we kill biodiversity in one country, we are killing our biodiversity for the world and for humanity. So therefore, this initiative is protecting our common heritage and our planet, our oceans, our water systems, our ecosystems. So thank you very much and congratulations to you for the 2040 plastic free initiative. This zero plastic use by 2040 will raise the bar also for other countries to collaborate. But it also raises the bar and shows that plastics are taken very seriously in terms of plastic debris and their contribution as well on the coastal zones, contributing to global warming. So we see that this initiative will actually contribute to a multitude of different environmental concerns in the world today. And we at UNESCO have established an interagency platform developed by UNESCO, which is called Quest for Action. And I call upon all of you to please visit the site, questforaction.org. It gives you an idea of the challenges of plastics, environmental, health, and economic. And now I come to the economic aspects. The initiatives you have underlined, the previous speakers, I want to congratulate you. Yes, we do need a kind of plastic, low plastic transition, zero plastic transition. And for that, we need new innovative solutions. We need research, technology, and industry to come on board as a partner, as the key partner to produce alternatives, and alternatives not only to waste management, but alternatives to plastics themselves. And this will also put an emphasis on new types of materials, recycling, and also create new jobs. But we also need a monitoring system. And I think the monitoring and evaluation system must be critical to the zero plastic use 2040. We at UNESCO will look forward to working with you on how we are going to monitor this. And finally, let me call upon the role of education. We need to educate from lowest to highest level on how plastic kills. We must educate down with plastics. So this is the message of UNESCO today. And I believe that children are the best carriers of these messages for the future of the planet that they would want. We must put to service all our science and scientific knowledge. And in that spirit, UNESCO has developed the Open Science Recommendation in order to enable countries across the world to share scientific information on what plastic is doing to killing nations, killing oceans, killing our biodiversity. So plastics and biodiversity are really critical. They are part of the same coin. We cannot have biodiversity with plastics. We can only have biodiversity without plastics. So there are two sides of the same coin. So down with plastics, because plastics kill humans, biodiversity, our nature, and our planet. So thank you very much and looking forward to working with you. UNESCO is your partner, and this Triple Crown jewel, World Heritage, Geopark, Biosphere Reserve, brings together all of UNESCO's programs, valorizing what Mother Earth can offer to us. So it's our role right now to ban the plastics, down with plastics. Thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you,
Jeju
Shamila.
Prophet.
Thank you. Yeah. Firstly, thank you very much for your sacrificing early morning hours for us. And you emphasized the role of local government to tackle the plastic issues. And you emphasized also the importance of the education. So can you stay longer? We have a second question later.
Please stay with us until the second question.
다음은 우리 한국
So I'd like to give a floor to Ms. Kim Eun-soo from Environmental Corporation to listen to the activities of the public institution. Please.
한 3분 정도로만.
3 minutes.
위원장님 소개
Thank you very much for your kind introduction. I'm General Manager Eun-soo Kim of Resource Circulation Headquarters of Korea K-Eco. We have a lot of work to do, and we have done a lot of works, but I'm going to be brief. To protect UNESCO Triple Crown Island, I'd like to congratulate all of you on the declaration of it. So we have a lot of concerns regarding land plastic pollution and ocean waste plastic pollution. So I hope the declaration could be very helpful to achieve and to be plastic-free island. And we are carrying out many policies. So we aim to reduce plastics and promote recycling with policy support and several institutional frameworks. And since 1980s, we have implemented a lot of institutions, but it was not effective as we anticipated. So we adopted EPR from Europe. So since 2003, we have carried out EPR system. And to reduce plastics, we carry out waste charge system as well. And also, we have been implementing EPR over the last 20 years so that producers are bearing the cost for recyclings. So packaging materials will be produced 1.69 million tons, and waste has been increased. Also, per capita plastic packaging consumption is about 67.4 kilograms, thereby making us the second largest plastic user. So we need to improve our institutions and policies to reduce plastic waste. So to reduce plastic production and waste in the first place, we need to carry out a plastic packaging assessment system to improve properties of and materials of plastic products. So the waste of plastic waste has increased 3.3 times to 269,000 tons, and we were able to save a lot of plastic waste. And so in just 1 year, in 2021, 57 companies released no-label PET bottles. And also, Lotte Chilsung, for the first time in 34 years, changed their PET bottles to non-colored one. And also, recycling and reusable repackaging, unnecessary packagings have been banned and stopped. So we have carried out packaging material assessment, and to reduce the number of packagings, we regulated the over-packaging of products. And also through consulting and opening information, we have been promoting this eco-friendly culture. And before 2020, a lot of improvements have been made when it comes to packaging of products. Plastic pollution is not a single country's problem. It is a global issue. So March this year, the 5th UNEP Assembly, we discussed to establish a internationally legally binding agreement, and we had also meetings and discussions, and we, to reduce plastic pollution, are making a lot of efforts to reduce pollution. Of course, we have a lot of works that have been done by us, but whether it be a country or business or citizen, we need to work together as one. So your participation would lead to a success. Thank you very much for your comment. Thank you. Please give him a big hand.
전 세-
As far as I know, there are 300 million plastic waste produced globally, and it is 10 million ton of plastics in case of Korea every year. But as I was listening to your presentation, the EPS system, packaging regulation system, so we have multiple policy options, but per capita production is the second largest in the world, which means that we need stronger and stricter regulation, I believe. So a while ago, I had a chance to talk about the plastics with the African government officers, and African countries actually have a stricter regulation on plastic actually than Korea. So of course the participation of the citizen must be guaranteed, but at the same time the government need to implement a stricter regulation on plastics, I believe, going forward. And next I'd like to give the floor to the long-awaited panelist from actually UNESCO has a headquarters in Paris, whereas IUCN has a headquarters in the Gland of Swiss. So she's from the Gland. I'd like to give the floor to Lee Seung-ho once again, please.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to speak in English since I have been briefed in English, so please understand this.
통역 서비스가 있으니까 마이크로.
Interpretation is being provided, so please use the receiver.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for inviting me to this session. I'm very glad to meet all of you, even if it's through virtual, and honored and heartwarming to be part of this conference taking place in my home country with a very significant initiative announced today. So we at IUCN, together with our members and partners, working on a number of fronts to inform, influence, and implement future solutions on not only plastic pollution, but in sustaining biodiversity. And given the limited time, I'll probably just focus on 4 main areas that I want to share. So first, IUCN, together with all our members, commission members, collects and generates data to inform our work moving forward. And as plastic pollution also has a direct and deadly effect on wildlife and biodiversity. Just for example, thousands of seabirds, sea turtles, and marine mammals are killed each year after ingestion or entanglement. The second area that IUCN is very active is providing and developing tools, knowledge, and guideline for policies as well as measurement. Recently, we, together with UNEP, developed a national guidance for plastic pollution hotspotting and shaping action tool. And this tool aims to support countries in identifying and measuring country-level plastic generation and the key hotspots, also help to prioritize key interventions along the plastic value chain, and support and guidelines on implementing those different instruments. Together with the countries, we have already applied this guidance in 8 countries to date as a start. But we have ambitions that we aim to expand it globally and apply to the entire world. IUCN also conducts studies on economic impact of plastic pollution on areas such as livelihood, ecosystem, and tourism, etc. And all these data, knowledge, and tools should inform and help shape global, regional, and national policies and instruments, as well as local initiatives. IUCN is also in the process of producing a blueprint looking at the entire value chain from production to disposal and plastic usage and waste in different sectors, and aims to apply this to provide recommendations to tackle the problems in multi-stages of the value chain. The third areas that I want to highlight is IUCN, together with our members and partners, uses these data, tools, and knowledge to implement and collaborate on concrete projects regionally, nationally, and locally. And these includes capacity building projects for our members, such as government agencies, subnational authorities, provinces or cities, international and local NGOs, and more recently, together with the private sector as well. Some of the key elements of these capacity building projects includes supporting and developing, measuring and setting scientific targets, implementing projects to reduce pressure on biodiversity, and identifying priority intervention at national and regional levels, as well as developing key indicators and build the capacity to continuously monitor plastic waste and leakages, among others. The last point I want to mention is we at IUCN, as the global union with more than 1,500 members, including government, NGOs, academia, research institutions, we mobilize and build a collective voice and commitments of our members to influence and shape global frameworks, but also drive movements in local level. And this morning, what we heard as undong, that we need to have local undong. IUCN, for example, at the last World Conservation Congress in Marseille, our member passed a resolution to support the adoption and implementation of future plastic treaties. There were other resolutions related to plastic pollution in protected areas as well. And in 2021, IUCN passed a resolution that calls for stopping the global plastic pollution crisis in marine environment by 2030. There are many other work that I would love to share, but feel free to visit our website, iucn.org, and learn more about these initiatives. The final thing I want to say is we cannot separate ourselves from nature. What we eat, what we drink, what we breathe, it's all nature and biodiversity. And we as humans needs nature more than actually the nature needs us. We are here together to work with you and looking forward to the next part of the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. 박수 부탁드립니다. Thank you, Sung-Ah Lee. You have introduced the activities of IUCN related to plastic pollution. The second question will be how to recover the biodiversity from the plastic pollution, but you already touched upon the second question, so you can skip the second question and then you can deliver the last take-home message at the conclusion. Okay, 그러면은 이제 아마
So I believe that I'd like to give the floor to Mr. Lee Chang-eum once again. Yes, I'm here. So what is the role of the central government? You listen? Yes, clear and nice. I beg your kind understanding. I used a different device, so there was a technical glitch. So thank you so much for your invitation. And at the very beginning of the panel discussion, have been very much engaged in all these activities and also at this forum as well. So it is my great pleasure to the successful second opening of the forum. So backing on to the plastic issues. So like you said, 10 million plastic of waste are generated every year. But as far as I know, in 2018 or 2018, the amount was 14 million ton, and 45% of them are consumed within Korea, which means that 45% of 14 million are actual plastic remaining in Korea. If you see the per capita usage, it is one of the highest in the world. I believe it is the second largest in the world as far as I know. So up by 2030, the plastic production in Korea will reach 17.4 million and the domestic consumption will reach 8.6 million or more. Also, moreover, because of the increasing number of single households and because more food delivery services, the single-use plastic will only increase going forward. So plastic waste issues will be worse and worse, so we need to pay great attention to it. In 2020, December 24th, the government announced the phasing out of plastic campaign at the national level. And the plan says that by 2025, the waste plastic will be reduced by 20% while increasing the recyclability of the plastics by 70%. So reducing waste and increasing recyclability has been implemented by the government. Based on such legal and institutional framework, the Ministry of Environment has been implementing multiple programs, and let me share some of them. Like it was said by Mr. Kim Un-suk, some might be redundant, so I'll be concise as much as I can. First, the raw materials and the production. So from the production phase, the material should be standardized and recyclability must be improved. So that is one focus of the problem. For example, if the product is made of multiple compounds, it will be categorized as hard to recycle. We have 4 grading system, and grade number 4 is hard to recycle. If it is labeled as hard to grade, it should be written on the product label, and the companies who are producing such products will have kind of incentive to increase the recyclability of their product. Also, in the process of consumption or distribution, disposable plastics will be curbed by multiple measures. So the Ministry of Environment have been implemented many regulations on the ban of plastic usage or reduction of plastic usage. And besides the plastic single usage straw or steering straw or water tissue, wet tissue will be regulated in the near future. So the regulation range will be expanded going forward. Also, as you know, in Korea, there were so many disposable cups being used. Around 800 million cups are used every year, and only 5% of those cups are recycled. So actually, it was planned for the first half of this year, but it will be done within this December. The single cups will not be used in the coffee shop as more. Instead, they will give multiple-use cups by receiving some fees, return fees. So that kind of effort will be done beginning from this December. In the process of collecting and separating the waste, we will modernize the infrastructure and facilities so that we can reduce the burden of the separation of the general citizens. For example, we will implement robotic or advanced R&D technologies, and the amount of R&D support will be 49.2 billion won. So optical separation sorting system will be miniaturized as well so that we can ease the separation. Finally, high-quality recycling. We will use thermal hydrolysis technologies so that we can increase the recyclability of the raw materials. For the stable supply of raw materials, we will create a specialized sorting facilities, and also will create a facilities that sort and separate the waste bags, and also the recycling material facilities will be built in each region. Thermolysis technologies will be implemented for the hydrogen raw materials, and also vinyls byproducts will be used for the public thermal hydrolysis facilities, and the unit will be 10 by 2026. That was an overview of the recent government plans. So these are all government plans, and the policies and the campaign of the government will not be enough to tackle the plastic issues, because in reality, municipalities also need to work harder to actually implement those policies into practices. So the mindset change and the effort of the municipalities must be there as well, not to mention the engagement of the citizens and the producers as well, who can reduce the plastic consumption from the beginning, from the production phase. So all our effort is needed.
Thank you very much. Please give him a big hand. So he took office just 2 days ago, so I guess you must have studied a lot. Since we have started 10 minutes behind, and we have 10 minutes left. So regarding the second question, I'm not going to ask this question to all of you, so I will invite just one or two of you, and then we will take some questions from the floor. Person Kim, regarding biodiversity, how can we restore biodiversity damaged by plastic pollution?
I'll be concise. As I was working as a government officer, I realized that why Korea use this much plastics? Why we have this huge amount of plastic waste? And then I realized that we have no natural resources at all, almost. But we achieved huge economic development, which dazzle the global society within a short period of time. So that means that our economy is very much export driven, and now we emerged as the 10th largest economy. We have no natural resources, but we achieved huge economic development, industrialization, and remarkable export volume. So not just plastics, but all the materials, the manufacturing industries are quite strong in terms of presence in Korea. Since we don't have any natural resources, we had no options but to use artificially made materials to come this far. But regrettably, the natural capacity is also very weak in Korea. We have small size of the land, and 63% of the nation is mountain, and also the population density is the highest, and we are suffering from very low fertility rate. So this is quite a dynamic situation in Korea. So despite such difficulties, we achieved this huge economic development, which means that we had to use plastics and other artificially made materials. So we came this far, I know that. But the global issue nowadays is sustainable development. And, for example, let's be very narrow. The plastic pollution issue should be tackled at the global level. This is one of the most urgent global issues. So what do we need to do as Koreans? Because we came this far very well, and the question here is that we need to change the target and march towards the new target for eco-friendliness nature. But we came this far without any natural resources, so I believe that we can make that kind of transition without natural resources once again, with the power of technology and the consensus of the citizens. So all the economic stakeholders need to join forces together to flesh out plans and put those into practices. I think it is viable. So the government role is critical, and the role of the civil organization is critical as well. So we have so many work to do. So now we are at that critical juncture. But it is also true that we achieved this economic growth in that short period of time, and there are many things I feel regret for, because whenever I go to work for my company, I usually go to restroom, and I sometimes wonder how much toilet paper are used. Most of them use more than just one piece of paper. They usually use more than two. I usually do everything with just one piece of paper. I clean up my hands and bring the paper onto my office and just clean up my desk or something else. So you might think that I save money too much excessively, but I think that tells what is important at this time of the day. So that kind of consensus or feel of sympathy must be formed within the society that we need to conserve. So my expectation is that last March, UN General Assembly, Environmental General Assembly, UNEA, announced that up until 2024, they will make a legally binding measures against the plastic usage, and Korea should be part of this effort. So, of course, each country have their own situation. So, by taking those characteristics into perspective, we need to go towards to tackle this common global issue of all human beings to reduce the plastic consumption. I hope that we can have more smarter regulations. So I hope that Korea can be one of the front runners in this change, I believe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Kim, for your message.
Speakers from abroad. We don't have much time, so please share 1 or 2 minutes your message, take-home message. Shamila first, and then next, Song-ah. You have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I'm really deeply humbled and by all the discussions that have taken place today. I want to sincerely congratulate Republic of Korea and Jeju self-governing province and the government for taking on board this innovative, unique opportunity, but also for taking on board the question of plastics. So thank you very much for inviting UNESCO. Now, I would like to say that Jeju Island is a treasure, a unique treasure, because we see different kinds of nature being brought together. We see a valorization, value for the oceans, value for people, value for biodiversity, value for geological heritage, value for biological heritage. And this is where I would say this is unusual for Jeju Island. And all of UNESCO sites, designated sites, to valorize exceptional nature, exceptional heritage, exceptional natural heritage, comes together in one in Jeju Island. So we are able to see a very holistic approach. And all of UNESCO sites individually also are pioneers for integration of new types of activities, innovation, and also looking at biodiversity conservation, biodiversity management, waste management, and also conservation and restoration. So this island is really a beacon of demonstration that, yes, we can do away with plastics, because it's not only for Jeju Island, but for the world. So this is a world initiative that is being launched here today, the 2040 plastic-free, zero-free Jeju Island. It is for the world, and it's for the benefit of the people of this planet. I've taken note of a particular word that has been said by the previous distinguished speaker about our sympathy for nature, and this calls on our ethics and our shared value for the living, for all of the living. And that is why UNESCO has teamed up with you in this approach of zero plastics, because we have to bring on board all our shared values for the living to protect what we have against plastic invasion and plastic pollution. Yes, we need smarter regulations. I agree with you, madam. And these smarter regulations are already being put to place already by the Jeju province. And the Jeju self-governing province is taking the lead in here in putting together unusual policies. So congratulations to you. We look forward to working with you. And please kindly note that we must start with our education and our science systems. And UNESCO is your partner. In that regard, I also want to congratulate the Republic of Korea for establishing what is called a Global Research and Training Center for internationally designated sites. This GCIDA is part of the network of over 80 Category 2 centers of UNESCO. And these centers take a long time to be approved. They're specialized centers of excellence. And in 2019, the UNESCO General Assembly approved the establishment of the Global Research and Training Center for internationally designated sites as a Category 2 center in Jeju Island. The main objective will be to provide research and training globally for improved management of internationally designated sites, namely biosphere reserves, World Natural Heritage Sites, global geoparks, Ramsar sites, and all other sites, multi-internationally designated sites, in a coordinated, integrated manner. And we can demonstrate within our sites that people can live in harmony with nature, people can reconcile with nature, because in UNESCO biosphere reserves across the world, over 275 million people call biosphere reserves their home. So by calling it their home, they need to ban out the plastics. Thank you very much for this initiative. Looking forward to working with you, and congratulations to all of you, and especially for this innovative initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shamila. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. As you mentioned, I'm looking forward to continuous collaboration between Korean government and local government and UNESCO. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you. And Sung-Ah Lee, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thanks. I'll try to be short as well. I'm actually very glad to hear the comment on the UNEA resolution to end plastic pollution. At IUCN, we welcome and support this, and we believe that we all need to actively participate and lead this treaty forward. Second additional part I quickly want to mention is I think it is important to highlight and address the marine plastic pollution that we have just heard from a number of citizens of Jeju Island through the video this morning, and IUCN is looking forward to actively work on that together with all our members and partners as well. The biodiversity crisis and losses that we are facing today, it's a global emergency, and inaction is not an option. But today, I'm very hopeful that together and through all these great initiatives that we heard from our fellow panelists and leadership such as Jeju with these initiatives, that we can make it. 자연과 우리 사회와
With nature, society, economy, we should be able to coexisting. I hope further cooperation could be delivered going forward.
So in this October, IUCN and Jeju Island will host even bigger conference. So I will see you once again at that venue. Thank you so much. So now I'd like to give the floor to the audience to receive some questions from the floor or even comments from any participant. Please raise up your hands and say any. Yes, gentlemen at the front row, please deliver the microphone. So please introduce yourself first. I live in Jeju Island. My name is Lee Sung Dun. And as well listening to your presentation and panel discussion, one thing came to my mind. One presenter actually said that going forward, the plastic usage, 91% of the plastic will be incinerated or landfilled, and 9% will be recycled. But I think we think in a reversed manner, because in the past, so far, over the few 100,000 of years, coal and oil existed, and those were just wasted before the industrialization. So maybe we can think differently. Maybe those plastics not recycled, 91% of the plastic, can be the engineered plastic, or some may call it the infrastructure materials. So those can be used as an industrial raw materials as well, I believe, in some way. So 91% will be recycled and 9% will be incinerated or landfilled if that is possible. So that kind of think differently would be needed, I believe.
입니다.
Thank you very much for your good comment. And we are going to take one more question or comment. Please raise your hand. Professor Jae-gun-bae, do you have any comment to add? No?
예, 더 없으시면
Okay, if there's no more questions or comments, then regarding the gentleman's comment, General Manager Kim, could you give some answers or comments? I'm General Manager Eun-soo Kim of K-ECO. As you mentioned, currently among OECD members, 59% of wastes are recycled among OECD members. Of course, we have more, but we created statistics regarding the recollected ones, so we will make sure to streamline the types of plastic that could be recycled. And when it comes to pyrolysis, if we carry out pyrolysis for plastics, then we can increase the recycling rates. Then we will be able to recycle 90% and incinerate just 10%.
Let me add just one more, because waste, solar panels, waste, EV batteries should be also circulated as well. So we need to create a resource circulation cluster by 2028. So we are in the process of making one. So the thing you just mentioned is one of the preparations of the Jeju Island. So we will fully implement as planned.
예. 더
So I guess there's no more questions. So as a public officer, I have worked 30 years. So I have been in charge of waste management and recycling and other waste pollution works. In the 1990s and in the mid-90s, at the time, when we talked about tires, there were almost no ways for recycling of tires. So those wasted tires were used for military purposes and used for some road infrastructure. But now, wasted tires are very precious raw materials that everyone wants. So going forward, plastics, depending on how we can recycle them, would be the most wanted raw materials. Of course, reduction of plastic is first. And when it comes to already consumed plastics, we need to think about a lot of recycling methods, including pyrolysis. So we need to make sure to develop new recycling technologies so that plastics could be the most wanted raw materials. So once again, I'd like to thank all the participants for your presence and all the panelists and speakers for your precious time and presentations. And my special thanks go to Assistant Director General Jamila Nairul Bedrelle of UNESCO and Deputy Director General Song-Al Lee of the IUCN for your presence. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. So with this, we'd like to conclude this session.
고맙습니다.
Thank you so much, moderator, for precising the session. Please give him a warm round of applause once again. plastic pollution should be tackled to save the biodiversity, and we talked this issue from multiple aspects. And through this session, we exchanged many ideas and thoughts. And thank you so much for your contribution. We will have 10-minute break before we begin the next session. We will meet you once again by 3:40. So we will meet you once again at 3:40. I'll see you in a minute.